Welcome to Superhuman Customs. I'm your host, Stephen Human, and I was able to find this figure, the Superman, which I guess from Clark and Lois, the comic book, which I absolutely love that comic. And that was when John was first introduced, and I love it. But what we're gonna do with him today is we're not gonna keep him as that version. We're gonna turn him into the recovery suit Superman from the reign of Superman. Now, what I'm gonna do, this is back after Superman died, and this would be 1993. So it's been a while since this comic came out. But what I'm gonna do, so we're gonna take this Wonder Woman that I got for super cheap, really just for the cyborg head, and we're gonna cut her hair off, and we're gonna give him long hair. Now, I know that in the comic book, in the original comic book, he did not have a beard. But even at the time, and I was like 13, 14, something like that when that comic book came out, I thought it was weird that his body had recovered and regenerated, which is what gave him the long hair, but he didn't have a beard. And so when I've seen versions, either statues or whatever, where he's had a beard, I've liked that way better. So this is gonna be my personal version of that character, and we're gonna keep that beard because I think it's gonna look awesome. So we're gonna add some hair, we're gonna paint him up. It's gonna be fairly simple when it comes down to it, but I think it's gonna look great. Let's jump right in. I want to play around with the hair first, so I'm just going to remove the hair from Wonder Woman here. I'm not even sure what I'm going to do with this head once we're done, but as soon as I saw this hair, I was like, this is perfect. I don't have to mold it myself. So just cut it off with an X-Acto knife, nice and easy. All right, I think this is going to look pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some fabric paint, and I'm going to, well, first we'll glue the hair in place. And then we're going to take some fabric paint and we'll go around the edges here and fill it out so that it looks like it's actually a part of his head. And now that she's got no hair, honestly, for those of you who would want to do a Hawk Girl, or like either a regular version of Hawk Girl or a Justice Lord version, like what I did, this head would actually do pretty well, I think. So remember that for the future. If you guys have this figure and you want to do this, she would probably make a pretty good Hawk Girl head. Just gonna thicken in some of the areas here. Make it look like he's just got longer hair. And fill it in. It's pretty simple. That's why, you guys know I love fabric paint for stuff like this. Just gonna make it so that it fills in that hair, and then I can repaint the whole hair, and it's gonna look right. His hair is looking pretty darn good, and now we just need to do kind of the quick stuff. I mean, when it comes down to it, this is a pretty simple custom. We need to go over the belt here and make it black, and then go over his boots and do the same thing before we do the symbol. And once you get down here on the boots, remember that his toe was silver. So just go ahead and leave it silver. And you're comic accurate. It has really been a while since I've done a really simple custom like this. Like starting out, I knew that it wouldn't be terribly difficult, but I was worried about the hair, obviously, getting it looking right, and in my opinion, it looks pretty dang perfect. But then once I got into the rest, I was like, oh, this is really simple. Just black and then do the symbol, and it's sometimes really good to do something simple like this. It doesn't require a lot of brain power. Just painting and getting it to where it looks right, and that's it. So yeah, if you got some simple stuff, don't feel bad about it. Just do it. Make it look good. Put it on the shelf. Now, after checking online real quick, I just found out and realized that his hands are also black. The suit goes all the way up, and then these right here are silver. So once we move into the silver, we'll paint those. So I'll just go over the hands real quick, blacken those up, and we'll call it good. Now let's go ahead and move on to the silver. I'm going to try and keep it in these areas here, because in the original comics it was slightly different on the interior where the yellow would be versus the exterior where the red would be, but I don't really care if it's, if it is exactly the same or if I have to go over the others. That's not really something I'm super worried about. But I am surprised how perfect the black turned out. If you notice here in the belt, Normally when I do a color like a black or something over the top, they have a different texture, a different gloss to them, and this is pretty exact. I'm still going to spray him with enamel because I want him to be a little bit shinier, but it's definitely not a have-to thing at this point because the black turned out pretty dang perfect. The silver is likely going to require a second coat on the S, and while that's drying, I'll go ahead and hit these gauntlets. And it will do a lot to balance out the color scheme. I think that's why they probably did it originally in the comics on the design, was to break up the black, and on the toy it definitely needs it too. And using the last little bit of silver, I'm just going to dry brush on this. You guys will remember this from when we did Man-at-Arms months ago. And I just want to hit the edges. I didn't end up displaying Man-at-Arms because there wasn't enough room, but this Superman needs to be displayed with a weapon. It's just a part of his character. And so I'm going to go through, and this just got a little bit dirtier than I wanted, and so I think a nice dry brushing of the silver will do what I want it to on these edges. Then I think we are done. Simple custom, but definitely a good one. One more thing I want to do to this guy is I'm going to take some milliput and we're going to form, he had like a little thing right here on his leg that was like to power his weapon, and it helps to break things up visually. And so we are going to add it in milliput and then go through and sculpt it so that it has the like little lines and stuff. I think that will be our final thing that we need to do to really make this Superman pop. And we're going to do the top coat here. Obviously we'll go over it in silver later, but as you've seen with some of my other figures, starting with the black really makes the metallics pop. I wish I'd learned this earlier. Like when I did the Batwing, that character just didn't turn out great, and I was like, man, and I remember seeing one online on one of the groups and was just like, wow, that really turned out amazing. And I asked him, you know, how'd you do it? And he said, well, with metallic paint. And I thought there was some mystery to it until I experimented and found that there wasn't. There was just, you start with a black layer and then you build up from there, and that does it. The joy about this right now, honestly, is that if I get any slop over, it's no big deal because he's already black, and I'm going to spray him with a clear coat anyway, so this is working pretty good. Now we're just going to take our darker silver and we're going to dry brush over the top of this thing. Get a nice little layer on here and move it around. And then once this is done, we'll just go over with silver, a much lighter, much brighter silver. And that should give us a really nice metallic look that just really pops against this figure. Nice and simple. This will be our last touch, and then we'll be done. There we have it, my own version of the return of Superman in his recovery suit. Got the big gun that came with Man-at-Arms that I never ended up using. He's going to have it on the shelf every single time because that's just part of the character. I love how I was able to mold the little ammo belt on his leg. It really helps to break up the character too, the figure, so that it's not just all black. He turned out great, long hair, all of it. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy these videos, that you learn something. I tend to learn something every single time, and I've done a whole bunch of them now, and I still am learning. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tell your friends. Come here every week. We'll do a video, have a little bit of fun, learn something. I'm Stephen Heumann. I'm an author. Check out stephenheumann.com for all of my novels, and I'll see you guys next week.